The Maratha Empire or the Maratha Confederacy was an Indian imperial power that existed from 1674 to 1818. At its peak, the empire covered much of the subcontinent, encompassing a territory of over 2.8 million km squared. The Marathas are partially credited with ending the Mughal rule in India. The Marathas were a yeoman Hindu warrior group from the western Deccan that rose to prominence by establishing Hindui Saraya. According to the Encyclopaedia Britannica, the Maratha group of castes is a largely rural class of peasant cultivators, landowners, and soldiers. Some Maratha and Kumbi have at times claimed Kshatriya standing and supported their claims to this rank by reference to clan names and genealogies linking themselves with epic heroes, Rajput clans of the north, or historical dynasties of the early medieval period. The Marathas became prominent in the 17th century under the leadership of Shivaji, who revolted against the Bijapur Sultanate and the Mughal Empire, and carved out a rebel territory with Raigad as his stronghold. Known for their mobility, the Marathas were able to consolidate their territory during the Deccan Wars against the Mughal Emperor Aurangzeb and, much later in time, controlled a large part of central India. Shahu, a grandson of Shivaji, was released by the Mughals after the death of Aurangzeb. Following a brief struggle with his aunt Tarabai, Shahu became ruler. During this period, he appointed Balaji Vishwanath Bhatt and later his descendants as the Peshwas or the prime ministers of the Maratha Empire. After the death of the Mughal Emperor Aurangzeb, the empire expanded greatly under the rule of the Peshwas. The empire at its peak stretched from Tamil Nadu in the south, to Peshawar, modern-day Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, in the north, and Bengal and Andaman Islands in east. In 1761, the Maratha army lost the Third Battle of Panipat to Afghan Durrani Empire, led by Ahmed Shah Abdali, which halted their imperial expansion in northwestern India. 10 years after Panipat, young Madhavrao Peshwa reinstated the Maratha authority over North India. In a bid to effectively manage the large empire, he gave semi-autonomy to the strongest of the knights, which created a confederacy of Maratha states. They became known as Ganikads of Baroda, the Hokas of Indore and Moa, the Scindias of Gwalior and Ujjain, Bansales of Nagpur. In 1775, the British East India Company intervened in a succession struggle in Pune, which became the First Anglo-Maratha War. Marathas remained the preeminent power in India until their defeat in the Second and Third Anglo-Maratha Wars, which left the British East India Company in control of most of India. A large portion of the Maratha Empire was coastline, which had been secured by a potent navy under commanders such as Karwan Ngra Copyright. He was very successful at keeping foreign naval ships, particularly of the Portuguese and British, at bay. Securing the coastal areas and building land-based fortifications were crucial aspects of the Marathas' defensive strategy and regional military history. Nomenclature: the Maratha Empire is also referred to as the Maratha Confederacy. The historian Barbara Ramusak says that the former is a designation preferred by Indian nationalists, while the latter was that used by British historians. She notes, "Neither term is fully accurate since one implies a substantial degree of centralization and the other signifies some surrender of power to a central government and a long-standing core of political administrators." Brief history: after a lifetime of guerrilla warfare with the Adil Shahi dynasty of Bijapur and Mughal Emperor Aurangzeb, Shivaji could only establish a Maratha territory near Western Ghats when he crowned himself Chhatrapati in 1674 with Raigad as its capital. Shivaji died in 1680, leaving behind a small kingdom always at odds with the mighty Mughal hegemony. Soon after Shivaji's death, the Mughals invaded, but could not fully subdue the Maratha Rebellion War of 27 years from 1681 to 1707. Shahu, a grandson of Shivaji, ruled as emperor until 1749. During his reign, Shahu appointed the first Peshwa as head of the government, under certain conditions. After the death of Shahu, the Peshwas became the de facto leaders of the Maratha Empire from 1749 to 1761, while Shivaji's successors continued as nominal rulers from their base in Satara. Covering a large part of the subcontinent, the Maratha Empire kept the British forces at bay during the 18th century, until the Third Battle of Panipat, following which Marathas never fought as a single unit. The Maratha Empire was at its height in the 18th century under Shahu and the Peshwa Baji Rao. Losses at the Third Battle of Panipat in 1761 suspended further expansion of the empire in the northwest and reduced the power of the Peshwas. In 1761, after severe losses in the Panipat War, the Peshwas slowly started losing the control of the state. Many military chiefs of the Maratha Empire like Shind, Holkar, Gaikwad, Pant Pratinidi, Bhosal of Nagpur, and Pandit of Pog, Patwardhan started to work towards their ambition of becoming independent rulers in their respective regions. However, under Madhavrao Peshwa, Maratha authority in North India was restored, 10 years after the Battle of Panipat. After the death of Madhavrao, the empire gave way to a loose confederacy, with political power resting in a pentarchy of 5 mostly Maratha dynasties, the Peshwas of Pune, the Scindias of Malwa and Gwalia, the Hokars of Indore, the Bansals of Nagpur, and the Gayakads of Baroda. A rivalry between the Scindia and Holkar dominated the Confederation's affairs into the early 19th century, as did the clashes with the British and the British East India Company in the 3 Anglo-Maratha Wars. In the Third Anglo-Maratha War, the last Peshwa, Baji Rao II, was defeated by the British in 1818. Most of the former Maratha Empire was absorbed by British India, however some of the Maratha states remained as vassals of the British until India became independent in 1947. The royal era, Shivaji. Shivaji was a Maratha aristocrat of the Bhosle clan who is considered to be the historical founder of the Maratha Empire. Shivaji led a resistance to free the Maratha people from the Sultanate of Bijapur, and re-establish Hindavi Saraya. He created an independent Maratha kingdom with Vedant Raigad as its capital, and successfully fought against the Mughals to defend his kingdom. He was crowned as Chhatrapati of the new Maratha kingdom in 1674. The state Shivaji founded it was a Maratha kingdom comprising about 4.1% of the subcontinent at the time he died, but over time it was to increase in size and heterogeneity, and by the time of the Peshwas in the early 18th century was a full-fledged empire, with Shivaji as its historical founder. Sambhaji. Shivaji had 2 sons, Sambhaji and Rajaram. Sambhaji, the elder son, was very popular among the courtiers. In 1681, Sambhaji had himself crowned and resumed his father's expansionist policies. Sambhaji had earlier defeated the Portuguese and Shigadeva Raya of Mysore. To nullify any Rajput Maratha alliance, as well as the Deccan Sultanates, the Mughal Emperor Aurangzeb himself headed south in 1681. With his entire imperial court, administration, and an army of about 500,000 troops he proceeded to conquer the entire Maratha Empire along with the Sultanates of Bijapur and Golconda. During the 8 years that followed, Sambhaji led the Marathas, never losing a battle or a fort to Aurangzeb. Aurangzeb had almost lost the campaign but for an event in early 1689. Sambhaji called his commanders for a strategic meeting at Sanjameshwar to decide on the final onslaught on the Mughal forces. In a meticulously planned operation, Ganaji Shirk and Aurangzeb's commander, Mukarrab Khan attacked Sanjameshwar when Sambhaji was accompanied by a few men. Sambhaji was ambushed and captured by Mughal troops on February 1, 1689. He and his advisor, Kavi Kalash, were taken to Bairjilgad. Sambhaji and Kavi Kalash were executed for rebellion against the empire on March 11, 1689. Rajaram and Tarabay. Upon Sambhaji's death, Rajaram, his half-brother, assumed the throne. He had to endure Mughal army siege to Raigad, his seat of government. However, Rajaram was able to flee to Vishalgad and then to Jinj for safety. From there the Marathas raided the Mughal territory and many forts were recaptured by Maratha commanders such as Santorji Korpad, Tanaji Jadhav, Parshuram Pant Pratinidi, Shankaraji Narayan Zashiv, and Malgiri Pandit. In 1697, Rajaram offered a truce but this was rejected by Aurangzeb. Rajaram died in 1700 at Sindhgad. His widow, Tarabay, assumed control in the name of her son Ram Raja. Then Tarabay heroically led the Marathas against the Mughals. By 1705, They had crossed the Narmada River and entered Malwa, then in Mughal possession. Malwa was a decisive battle for the Maratha Empire. The Mughals lost their eminent position on the Indian subcontinent forever, and the subsequent Mughal emperors became titular rulers. The Marathas emerged victorious after a long drawn-out and fiercely fought battle. The soldiers and commanders who participated in this war achieved the real expansion of the Maratha Empire. The victory also set the foundations for the imperial conquests achieved later, under the Peshwas. Ramchandra Pandamacha Bhadka was a court administrator who rose from the ranks of a local Konkani to the ranks of Ashtapradhan under guidance and support of Shivaji. When Rajaram fled to Jinji in 1689, leaving Maratha Empire, he gave a hukumat panad to Pand before leaving. Ramchandra Pand managed the entire state under many challenges like influx of Mughals, betrayal from Vitandas and social challenges like scarcity of food. With the help of Pantpritanidi, Sakiv, he kept the economic condition of Maratha Empire in an appropriate state. He wrote Adnapatra, in which he has explained different techniques of war, maintenance of forts and administration, etc. Shahu. After Aurangzeb's death in 1707, Shahajai, son of Sambhaji, was released by Bahadur Shah I, the new Mughal emperor. The conditions laid by the Mughals for his release rendered him a vassal of the Mughal emperor and kept his mother a hostage of the Mughals in order to ensure that Shahajai adhered to the release conditions. Upon release, Shahu immediately claimed the Maratha throne and challenged his aunt Tarabai and her son. This promptly turned the now spluttering Mughal Maratha war into a three-cornered affair. The states of Satara and Kolhapur came into being in 1707. Because of the succession dispute over the Maratha kingship. By 1710, two separate principalities had become an established fact, eventually confirmed by the Treaty of Warna in 1731. In 1713, Farrukhshiah declared himself Mughal emperor. His bid for power depended heavily on two brothers, known as the Sayyids, one of whom was the governor of Allahabad and the other the governor of Patna. However, the brothers had a falling out with the emperor. Negotiations between the Sayyids and Peshwa Balaji Vishwanath, a civilian representative of Shahu, drew the Marathas into the vendetta against the Mughal emperor. In 1714, an army of Marathas commanded by Parsaji Bhosle marched up to Delhi unopposed and managed to depose the Mughal emperor. In return for this help, Balaji Vishwanath managed to negotiate a substantial treaty. Shahajai would have to accept Mughal rule in the Deccan, furnish forces for the imperial army, and pay an annual tribute. But in return, he received a firman, or imperial directive, guaranteeing him Swaraj, or independence, in the Maratha homeland, plus rights to Chauth and Sardeshmukh throughout Gujarat, Malwa, and the now 6 provinces of the Mughal Deccan. This treaty also released Yesubai, Shahajai's mother, from Mughal captivity. During regime of Shahu, Raghujai Bhosle expanded the empire in east reaching present-day Bangladesh. Senapati Darbhade expanded in west. Peshwa Bajirao and his 3 chiefs Baur, Holkar and Scindia expanded in north. All these houses became hereditary, thereby eventually undermining the king's authority there. The Peshwa era. During this era, Peshwas belonging to the Deshmukh Marathi Brahmin family controlled the Maratha army and later became the hereditary rulers of the Maratha Empire from 1749 to 1818. During their reign, the Maratha Empire reached its zenith, ruling most of the Indian subcontinent. Prior to 1700, one Peshwa received the status of imperial regent for 8 or 9 years. They oversaw the greatest expansion of the Maratha Empire around 1760 with the help of Sardars like Holkar, Scindia, Bhosle, and Gaikwad, Dane. Other generals such as Pantpritanidi, Pants, Vinchurkar, Pev, Rast, Phadke, Patwardhan, Paur, Pandit, Purandare and Mayandale also played important part in the expansion. The areas controlled by the Peshwa were annexed by the British East India Company in 1818. Baji Rao I. After Balaji Vishwanath's death in April 1720, his son, Baji Rao I was appointed as Peshwa by Chhatrapati Shahu. Shahu possessed a strong capacity for recognizing talent, and actually caused a social revolution by bringing capable people into power irrespective of their social status. This was an indication of a great social mobility within the Maratha Empire, enabling its rapid expansion. Baji Rao Vishwanath Deshmukh, also known as Baji Rao I, was a noted general who served as Peshwa to the fourth Maratha Chhatrapati Shahu between 1720 until death. He is credited with expanding the Maratha Empire especially in north that reached its zenith 20 years after his death. Peshwa Bajirao fought over 41 battles and is reputed to have never lost one. Battle of Paukht was a land battle that took place on February 28, 1728 at the village of Paukht, near the city of Nashik, Maharashtra, India between Baji Rao I and the Nizam-ul-Mulk of Hyderabad. The Marathas defeated the Nizam. The battle is considered an example of brilliant execution of military strategy. The Battle of Vasai was fought between the Marathas and the Portuguese rulers of Vasai, a village lying near Bombay in the present-day state of Maharashtra, India. The Marathas were led by Kamaji Appa, a brother of Peshwa Baji Rao I. Maratha victory in this war was a major achievement of Baji Rao I's reign. Balaji Baji Rao. Baji Rao's son, Balaji Bajirao, was appointed as a Peshwa by Shahjahan. The period between 1741 and 1745 was one of comparative calm in the Deccan. Shahjahan died in 1749 bequeathing power to Peshwa with condition that the dignity of House of Shivaji will be maintained and also welfare of subjects will be looked after. In 1740, the Maratha forces came down upon Arcot and defeated the Nawab of Arcot, Dost Ali in the pass of Damalcheri. In the war that followed, Dost Ali, one of his sons Hassan Ali, and a number of prominent persons lost their lives. This initial success at once enhanced Maratha prestige in the south. From Damalcheri the Marathas proceeded to Arcot. It surrendered to them without much resistance. Then, Rajagaji invaded Trichinopoli in December 1740. Unable to resist, Chanda Sahib delivered the fort to Rajagaji on March 14, 1741, on the day of Ram Navami. Chanda Sahib and his son were arrested and sent to Nagpur. After the successful campaign of Karnatak and Battle of Trichinopoli, Rajagaji returned from Karnatak. He undertook 6 expeditions in Bengal from 1741 to 1748. Rajagaji was able to annex Odisha to his kingdom permanently as he successfully exploited the chaotic conditions prevailing in Bengal, Bihar and Odisha after the death of their governor Murshid Quli Khan in 1727. Constantly harassed by the Bansals, Odisha or Cuttack, Bengal and parts of Bihar were economically ruined. Alivadi Khan, Nawab of Bengal made peace with Rajagaji in 1751 ceding in perpetuity Cuttack up to the river Subarnarekha, and agreeing to pay Rs 1.2 million annually in lieu of the Chauth of Bengal and Bihar. The smaller states of Raipur, Ratanpur, Bilaspur and Sambalpur belonging to Chhattisgarh territory were conquered by Bhaskar Ram, and were placed in charge of Mohan Singh, an illegitimate son of Rajagaji. Towards the end of his career, Rajagaji had conquered the whole of Berar. The Gund kingdoms of Devad including Nagpur, Gadamandla and Chandrapur. The Subah of Cuttack. And the smaller states spreading between Nagpur and Cuttack. Nana Sahib encouraged agriculture, protected the villages, and brought about a marked improvement in the state of the territory. Continued expansion saw Raghunath Rao, the brother of Nana Sahib, pushing into in the wake of the Afghan withdrawal after Ahmed Shah Abdali's plunder of Delhi in 1756. Delhi was captured by Maratha army under Raghunath Rao in August 1757 defeating Afghan garrison in the Battle of Delhi. This laid the foundation for the Maratha conquest of northwest India. In Lahore, as in Delhi, the Marathas were now major players. Pragoba's letter to Peshwa Balaji Bajirao, May 4, 1758. Lahore, Multan, Kashmir and other subas on this side of Attic are under our rule for the most part, and places which have not come under our rule we shall soon bring under us. Ahmad Shah Durrani's son Timur Shah Durrani and Jin Khan have been pursued by our troops, and their troops completely looted. Both of them have now reached Peshawar with a few broken troops. so Ahmad Shah Durrani has returned to Kandahar with some 14,000 broken troops. Thus all have risen against Ahmad, who has lost control over the region. We have decided to extend our rule up to Kandahar. On May 8, 1758, the Marathas captured Peshawar, defeating the Afghan troops in the Battle of Peshawar. In 1759, the Marathas under Sadashiv Rao responded to the news of the Afghans' return to North India by sending a big army to North. Boer's force was bolstered by some Maratha forces under Holkar, Scindia, Gaikwad and Govind Pant Bandal. The combined army of over 100,000 regular troops had recaptured the former Mughal capital, Delhi, from an Afghan garrison in August 1760. Delhi had been reduced to ashes many times due to previous invasions, and in addition there being acute shortage of supplies in the Maratha camp. Boer ordered the sacking of the already depopulated city. He is said to have planned to place his nephew and the Peshwa's son, Vishwasray, on the Mughal throne. By 1760, with defeat of the Nizam in the Deccan, Maratha power had reached its zenith with a territory of over 2,800,000 squared acres. Ahmad Shah Durrani, then called Rohillas and Nawab, vowed to assist him in driving out infidel Marathas from Delhi. Huge armies of Muslim forces and Marathas collided with each other on January 14, 1761 in the Third Battle of Panipat. The Maratha army lost the battle, which halted imperial expansion. The Jats and Rajots did not support the Marathas. Their withdrawal from the ensuing battle played a crucial role in its result. The Marathas had antagonized the Jats and Rajots by taxing them heavily, punishing them after defeating the Mughals and interfering in their internal affairs. The Marathas were abandoned by Raja Suraj Mal of Bharatpur and the Rajots, who quit the Maratha alliance at Agra before the start of the Great Battle and withdrew their troops, as Maratha General Sadashiv Rao did not heed the advice to leave soldiers' families and pilgrims at Agra and not take them to the battlefield with the soldiers, rejected their cooperation. Their supply chains did not exist. The Confederacy era. During this period various chiefs and statesmen became de facto rulers. The Peshwa was relegated to secondary position. He also became ceremonial king, especially after death of Peshwa Madhav Rao after 1761. Young Madhav Rao Peshwa tried his best to rebuild the empire in spite of his frail health and reinstated the Maratha authority over North India, 10 years after the Battle of Panipat. In a bid to effectively manage the large empire, semi-autonomy was given to strongest of the knights. Thus, the semi-autonomous Maratha states came into being in far-flung regions of the Empire: Peshwas of Pune, Gaikwads of Baroda, Urs of Dewas and Dor, Holkars of Indore and Moa, Scindias of Gwalior and Ujjain, Bansales of Nagpur. Even in the Maharashtra itself many knights were given semi-autonomous charges of small districts, which led to princely states like Sangli, Aunt, Pog, Border, Filton, Miraj etc. Powers of Upgal were also part of Confederacy. After the Battle of Panipat, Malhar Rao Holkar attacked the Rajots and defeated them at the Battle of Mangrol. The battle largely restored Maratha power in Rajasthan. Under the leadership of Mahadi Shind, the Marathas defeated the Jats, the Rohilla Afghans, and took Delhi, which remained basically under Maratha control for the next 2 decades. Mahadaji Shind was the Maratha ruler of the state of Gwalior in central India. Mahadaji was instrumental in resurrecting Maratha power after the debacle of the Third Battle of Panipat in 1761, and rose to become a trusted lieutenant of the Peshwa, leader of the Maratha Empire, as well as the Mughal king Shah Alam II. He took full advantage of the system of neutrality pursued by the British to resurrect Maratha power over northern India. In this he was assisted by Banaur-registered trademark T. de Boyne, who increased Scindia's regular forces to 3 brigades. With these troops Scindia became a power in northern India. In 1767 Madhav Rao crossed the Krishna River and inflicted defeats on Hyder Ali in the battles of Surat and Majuri. He even rescued the last queen of the Kaladi Nayaka kingdom, who was kept in confinement by Hyder Ali in the fort of Majuri. After the growth in power of feudal lords like Mulwar Sardars, landlords of Bundelkhand and Rajput kingdoms of Rajasthan, they refused to pay tribute to Mahadi. So he sent his army conquer the states such as Bhopal, Datia, Chanderi, Narwar, Salbai and Gohad. He launched an expedition against the Raja of Jaipur, but withdrew after the inconclusive Battle of Lalsot in 1787. The strong fort of Gwalior was then in the hands of Chetar Singh, the Jat ruler of Gohad. In 1783, Mahadi besieged the fort of Gwalior and conquered it. He delegated the administration of Gwalior to Konduraj Hari Bhai Rai. After celebrating the conquest of Gwalior, Mahadi Shah turned his attention to Delhi. In early 1771, 10 years after the collapse of Maratha supremacy in North India following the Third Battle of Panipat, Mahadi recaptured Delhi and installed Shah Alam II as the puppet ruler on the Mughal throne. Receiving in return the title of Deputy Wakil-ul-Mulk or Vice-Regent of the Empire and that of Wakil-ul-Mulk being at his request conferred on the Peshwa. The Mughals also gave him the title of Amir-ul-Amira, head of the Amirs. Mahadi ruled the Punjab as it used to be a Mughal territory and Sikh Sardars and other Rajas of the Sai-Sutlej region paid tributes to him. After taking control of Delhi, Marathas sent a large army in 1772 to punish Afghan Rohillas for Panipat. Maratha army devastated Rohilkhand by looting and plundering and also took the members of royal family as captives. Maratha General Mahadaji was very much pleased with the revenge taken by his men for Panipat. The Battle of Gujindragad was fought between the Marathas under the command of Tukajiraj Holkar and Tipu Sultan from March 1786 to March 1787 in which Tipu Sultan was defeated by the Marathas. By the victory in this battle, the border of the Maratha territory extended till Tungabhadra River. In 1788 Mahadi's armies defeated Ismail Beg, a Mughal noble who resisted the Marathas. The Rohilla chief Ulam Qadir, Ismail Beg's ally, took over Delhi, capital of the Mughal dynasty, and deposed and blinded the king Shah Alam II, placing a puppet on the Delhi throne. Mahadi intervened, taking possession of Delhi on October 2, restoring Shah Alam II to the throne and acting as his protector. Mahadi sent Banaur-registered trademark T. de Boyne to crush the forces of Jaipur at Patan and the armies of Marwar at Merta on September 10, 1790. Another achievement of Mahadi was his victory over the Nizam of Hyderabad's army in a battle. The Nizam ceased to be a factor in the North Indian politics after this battle and it generally confined itself in the Deccan afterwards. After the peace made with Tipu Sultan of Mysore in 1792, Mahadi successfully exerted his influence to prevent the completion of a treaty between the British, the Nizam of Hyderabad, and the Peshwa, directed against Tipu. Maharaja Yashwantrao Holkar, after the Battle of Poona, the flight of Peshwa left the government of Maratha state in the hands of Yashwantrao Holkar. He appointed Amritrao as the Peshwa and went to Indore on March 13, 1803. All except Gaikwad chief of Baroda, who had already accepted British protection by a separate treaty on July 26, 1802, supported the new regime. He made a treaty with the British in 1805, that fulfilled his demands. Also, Yashwantrao successfully resolved the disputes with Scindia and the Peshwa. His battles were the most remarkable in the military history of India and the title given to him by the Mughal emperor gave him a prominent position amongst the rulers of India. He tried to unite the Maratha Confederacy. He was as clever organizer as he was skillful in war. The various branches of the army were organized on a sound military basis. As a military strategist he ranks among the foremost generals who have ever trod on Indian soil. His heroic achievements shed a noble luster on his military genius, political sagacity and indefatigable industry. He was undoubtedly the greatest and most romantic figure on the stage of Indian history. Yashwantrao Holkar rose to power from initial nothingness entirely by dint of his personal valor and spirit of adventure. So great was his personality that even in those troublesome times, no state or power could venture to commit aggression on his territory. And this influence kept the Holkar state secure even after his death for some years. British intervention. In 1775, the British East India Company, from its base in Bombay, intervened in a succession struggle in Pune, on behalf of Raghunath Rao, which became the First Anglo-Maratha War. That ended in 1782 with a restoration of the pre-war status quo. Marathas under Tukajire Holkar and Mahadaji Shine had defeated British in the Battle of Ujjain. In 1802 the British intervened in Baroda to support the heir to the throne against rival claimants, and they signed a treaty with the new Maharaja recognizing his independence from the Maratha Empire in return for his acknowledgement of British paramountcy. In the Second Anglo-Maratha War, the Peshwa Baji Rao too signed a similar treaty. In 1799, Yashwantrao Holkar was crowned king. He captured Ujjain. He started campaigning towards the north to expand his empire in that region. Yashwantrao rebelled against the policies of the Peshwa Baji Rao too. On May 1802, he marched towards Pune, the seat of the Peshwa. This gave rise to the Battle of Pune, in which the Peshwa was defeated. After the Battle of Pune, the flight of Peshwa left the government of Maratha state in the hands of Yashwantrao Holkar. He appointed Amritrao as the Peshwa and went to Indore on March 13, 1803. All except Gaikwad, chief of Baroda, who had already accepted British protection by a separate treaty on July 26, 1802, supported the new regime. He made a treaty with the British in 1805, that fulfilled his demands. Also, Yashwantrao successfully resolved the disputes with Scindia and the Peshwa. He tried to unite the Maratha Confederacy but to no avail. Ultimately the Third Anglo-Maratha War, a last-ditch effort to regain sovereignty, resulted in the loss of Maratha independence. It left the British in control of most of India. The Peshwa was exiled to Bihar as a pensioner of the British. The Maratha heartland of Desh, including Pune, came under direct British rule, with the exception of the states of Kolhapur and Satara, which retained local Maratha rulers. The Maratha-ruled states of Gwalior, Indore, and Nagpur all lost territory, and came under subordinate alliance with the British Raj as princely states that retained internal sovereignty under British paramountcy. Other small princely states of Maratha Knights were retained under the British Raj as well. At the end of the war, all of the Maratha powers had surrendered to the British, which resulted in the Treaty of Galle on November 5, 1817. Under this treaty, Shine surrendered Rajasthan to the British and agreed to help them fight the Pindaris. Holkar was defeated on December 21, 1817 and signed the Treaty of Mandezwar on January 6, 1818. Under this treaty the Holkar state became subsidiary to the British. The young Malhar Rao was raised to the throne. Bansal was defeated on November 26, 1817 and was captured, but he escaped to live out his life in Jodhpur. The Peshwa surrendered on June 3, 1818 and was sent off to Bithur near Kanpur under the terms of the treaty signed on June 3, 1818. Of the Pindari leaders, Karim Khan surrendered to Malcolm in February 1818. Wazir Muhammad surrendered to Shinde and eventually poisoned himself. And Setter was killed by a tiger. The war left the British, under the auspices of the British East India Company, in control of virtually all of present-day India south of the Sutlej River. The famed Nasak diamond was acquired by the company as part of the spoils of the war. The British acquired large chunks of territory from the Maratha Empire and in effect put an end to their most dynamic opposition. The terms of surrender Malcolm offered to the Peshwa were controversial amongst the British for being too liberal. The Peshwa was offered a luxurious life near Kanpur and given a pension of about £80,000. A comparison was drawn with Napoleon, who was confined to a small rock in the South Atlantic and given a small sum for his maintenance. Trimbakji Dingale was captured after the war and was sent to the fortress of Shuna in Bengal, where he spent the rest of his life. With all active resistance over, John Malcolm played a prominent part in capturing and pacifying the remaining fugitives. Administration. The organisation of Marathas Unregistered Trademark Administration was composed of several ministers, Peshwa Mukha or Pradhan, Prime Minister to the Emperor, for supervising and governing in his absence. The Emperor's orders bore the Peshwa's seal. Mutalik, Deputy to the Peshwa, Deputy Prime Minister to the Emperor, Jadnaur, Deputy to the Crown, Sardar Senapati or Sanorbat, to manage military forces and administer lands, Sardar, to manage military forces and administer lands, Mazumdar, an auditor to manage receipts and expenditures, keep the Crown informed of finances and sign district-level accounts, Amatia, Chief Mazumdar, Navis or Wakil Mantri, to record daily activities of the royal family and to serve as the master of ceremonies, Sur Navis or Sashiv, Imperial Secretary, to oversee the Crown's correspondence to ensure letter and style adherence, Sumand or Dabir, Foreign Minister, to manage foreign affairs and receive ambassadors, Pandit, to adjudicate internal religious disputes and promote formal education and spiritual practice, Nyayadhish, the highest judicial authority. Peshwa was the titular equivalent of a modern prime minister. Emperor Shivaji created the Peshwa designation in order to more effectively delegate administrative duties during the growth of the Maratha Empire. Prior to 1749, Peshwas held office for 8–9 years and controlled the Maratha army. They later became the de facto hereditary administrators of the Maratha Empire from 1749 till its end in 1818. Under Peshwa administration and with the support of several key generals and diplomats, the Maratha Empire reached its zenith, ruling most of the Indian subcontinent landmass. It was also under the Peshwas that the Maratha Empire came to its end through its formal annexation into the British Empire by the British East India Company in 1818. The Marathas used secular policy of administration and allowed complete freedom of religion. There were many notable Muslims in the military and administration of Marathas like Ibrahim Khan Gadi, Hyder Ali Kohari, Daulat Khan, Sidi Ibrahim, Jiva Mahal etc. Shivaji was an able administrator who established a government that included modern concepts such as cabinet, foreign affairs and internal intelligence. He established an effective civil and military administration. He believed that there was a close bond between the state and the citizens. He is remembered as a just and welfare-minded king. Kusmdar Gada says about Shivaji and life of the celebrated Savaji. Such was the good treatment Shivaji accorded to people and such was the honesty with which he observed the capitulations that none looked upon him without a feeling of love and confidence. By his people he was exceedingly loved. Both in matters of reward and punishment he was so impartial that while he lived he made no exception for any person. No merit was left unrewarded, no offence went unpunished. And this he did with so much care and attention that he specially charged his governors to inform him in writing of the conduct of his soldiers, mentioning in particular those who had distinguished themselves, and he would at once order their promotion either in rank or in pay, according to their merit. He was naturally loved by all men of valor and good conduct. However, the later Marathas are remembered more for their military campaigns, not for their administration. Hindu historians have criticized the treatment of Marathas with Jats and Rajats. Historian K. Roy writes, the treatment of Marathas with their co-religionist fellows Jats and Rajats was definitely unfair, and ultimately they had to pay its price in Panipat where Muslim forces had united in the name of religion geography. Maratha Empire, at its peak, ruled over much of the Indian subcontinent. Apart from capturing various regions, the Marathas maintained a large number of tributaries who were bounded by agreement to pay a certain amount of regular tax, known as chauth. Apart from capturing the whole Mughal Empire, the Maratha Empire defeated Sultanate of Mysore under Hyder Ali and Tipu Sultan, Nawab of Oudh, Nawab of Bengal, Nizam of Hyderabad and Nawab of Arcot as well as the Polygar kingdoms of South India. They extracted chauth from Delhi, Oudh, Bengal, Bihar, Odisha, Punjab, Hyderabad, Mysore, Uttar Pradesh and Rajput states. The Marathas were requested by Safdarjung, the Nawab of Oudh, in 1752 to help him defeat Afghani Rohilla. The Maratha force left Pune and defeated Afghan Rohilla in 1752, capturing the whole of Rohilkhand. In 1752, Marathas entered into an agreement with the Mughal emperor, through his wazir, Safdarjung. Mughals gave the Marathas the chauth of the Punjab, Sindh and the Doab in addition to the subsidiary of Ajmer and Agra. In 1758, the Marathas started their northwest conquest and expanded their boundary till Afghanistan. They defeated Afghan forces in what is now Pakistan as well as Kashmir. The Afghans were numbered around 25,000 to 30,000 and were led by Timur Shah, the son of Ahmad Shah Durrani. The Marathas massacred and looted thousands of Afghan soldiers and captured Lahore, Multan, Dera Ghazi Khan, Attock, Peshawar in the Punjab region and Kashmir. Marathas established naval bases in the Andaman Islands and are credited with attaching the islands to India. During the Confederacy era, Mahatma Sindhya resurrected the Maratha domination on much of North India, which was lost after the Third Battle of Panipat, including the Sutlej states, south of Sutlej, like Kaithal, Patiala, Jind, Thainsa, Malakotla, and Fariakot. Delhi and Uttar Pradesh were under the suzerainty of the Scindia dynasty of the Maratha Empire. Following the Second Anglo-Maratha War of 1803–1805, Marathas lost these territories to the British East India Company. Legacy: Maratha Navy. The Maratha Empire is credited with laying the foundation of the Indian Navy and bringing about considerable changes in naval warfare by introducing a blue water navy. The Maratha Empire is also credited for developing many important cities like Pune, Baroda, and Indore. From its inception in 1674, the Marathas established a naval force, consisting of cannons mounted on ships. The dominance of the Maratha navy started with the ascent of Kanaji Angre as the Darya Saranga by the Maratha chief of Satara. Under that authority, he was admiral of the western coast of India from Bombay to Vingoria in the present-day state of Maharashtra, except for Janjira, which was affiliated with the Mughal Empire. The Marathas established watch posts on the Andaman Islands and are credited with attaching those islands to India. He attacked English, Dutch and Portuguese ships which were moving to and from East Indies. Until his death in 1729, he repeatedly attacked the colonial powers of Britain and Portugal, capturing numerous vessels of the British East India Company and extracting ransom for their return. On November 29, 1721, a joint attempt by the Portuguese Viceroy Francisco José Copyright de Sampaio e Castro and the British General Robert Cowan to humble Kanaji failed miserably. Their combined fleet consisted of 6,000 soldiers and no less than 4 man-of-war besides other ships led by Captain Thomas Matthews of the Bombay Marine failed miserably. Aided by Maratha naval commanders Mendorji Bhatka and Mainak Bonderi, Kanaji continued to harass and plunder the European ships until his death in 1729. The Pal was a 3-masted Maratha man-of-war with guns peeping on the broadsides. Accounts by Afghans and Europeans. The Maratha army, especially its infantry, was praised by almost all the enemies of Maratha Empire, ranging from Duke of Wellington to Ahmad Shah Abdali. After the Third Battle of Panipat, Abdali was relieved as Maratha army in the initial stages were almost in the position of destroying the Afghan armies and their Indian allies Nawab and Rohillas. The Grand Wazir of Durrani Empire, Shah Wali Khan, was shocked when Maratha Commander-in-Chief Sadashiv Raubur launched a fierce assault on the centre of Afghan army. Over 3,000 Durrani soldiers were killed alongside Haji Atai Khan, one of the chief commander of Afghan army and nephew of Wazir Shah Wali Khan. Such was the fierce assault of Maratha infantry in hand-to-hand combat that Afghan army started to flee, and the Wazir in desperation and rage shouted, "Comrades, whither do you fly? Our country is far off." Post-battle Ahmad Shah Abdali in a letter to one Indian ruler claimed that Afghans were able to defeat the Marathas only because of the blessings of Almighty, and any other army would have been destroyed by the Maratha army on that particular day, even though Maratha army was numerically inferior to Afghan army and its Indian allies. The letter is kept in the National Archives of India. Similarly, Duke of Wellington, after defeating Marathas, noted that Marathas though were poorly led by their generals but their regular infantry and artillery matches the level of Europeans. He also warned other British officers from underestimating Marathas in battlefield. He cautioned one British general that, "You must never allow Maratha infantry to attack head-on or in close hand-to-hand combat, as in that your army will cover itself without a disgrace." Even when Arthur Wellesley, first Duke of Wellington, became Prime Minister of Britain, he held Maratha infantry in utmost respect, claiming it to be one of the best in the world. At the same time, however, he noticed the poor leadership of Maratha generals, who were often responsible for their defeats. Most British authors agree that Maratha infantry was equal to that of British infantry after the Third Anglo-Maratha War in 1818. Maratha agreed to serve British Empire, and Britain listed Maratha as one of the martial race. Maratha notable generals and administrators: Ramchandra Pandamacha Bordka, Ramchandra Pandamacha Bodkar was a court administrator who rose from the ranks of a local Konkani to the ranks of Ashtapradhan under guidance and support of Shivaji. He was one of the prominent Peshwas from the time of Shivaji, prior to the rise of the later Peshwas who controlled the empire after Shahjahan. When Chhatrapati Rajaram fled to Jinji in 1689 leaving Maratha Empire, he gave a hukumat panna to Pand before leaving. Ramchandra Pand managed the entire state under many challenges like influx of Mughals, betrayal from Vitandas and social challenges like scarcity of food. With the help of Pandpratinidhi, Sakiv, he kept the economic condition of Maratha Empire in an appropriate state. He received military help from the Maratha commanders Santorji Korpad and Tanaji Jadhav. On many occasions he himself participated in battles against Mughals. In 1698, he stepped down from the post of hukumat panna, when Rajaram offered this post to his wife, Tarabai. Tarabai gave an important position to Pand among senior administrators of Maratha state. He wrote Adnapatra in which he has explained different techniques of war, maintenance of forts and administration etc. But owing to his loyalty to Tarabai against Shahjahan, he was sidelined after arrival of Shahjahan in 1707. Personalities. Royal houses. Satara, Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj, Chhatrapati Sambhaji, Chhatrapati Rajaram, Maharani Tarabai, Chhatrapati Shahu, Chhatrapati Ramraja, Kolapa, Queen Tarabai in the name of her son Shivaji II, Shivaji II, Shivaji III, Rajaram I Shivaji V, Shanoji II, Rajaram II, Shahaji II, Titular Maharaja 1949 1983, Peshwas. Morapant Trimbak Pingal, Baharaji Pingal, Balaji Vishwanath, Peshwa Bajire I, Balaji Bajire, Madhavrao Peshwa, Narayan Ray Bajire, Raghunatha Rao, Sawai Madhava Rao II Narayan, Baji Rao II, Nana Sahib, Chieftains, Holkar, Shind, Gaikwad, Bansal, Uras, maps showing the Maratha Empire at different stages of history. Thanjavur Maratha Kingdom. Thanjavur Marathas were the rulers of Thanjavur Principality of Tamil Nadu between the 17th to the 19th century CE. Their native language was Thanjavur Marathi. Venkaji was the founder of the dynasty. Thanjavur Maratha Dynasty, Venkaji Shahjahan I, Safoji I Tukhoji, Pratap Singh, Philjoji Safoji II, Shivaji II. Gallery. See also, List of Maratha dynasties and states, Maratha War of Independence, battles involving the Maratha Empire, Imperial Maratha conquests, Maratha clans system, Maratha titles, Thanjavur Maratha Kingdom, Military History of India, Notes. References